What if I told you that the only thing holding you back is the key to moving you forward? Be who you are, keep what you stand for, and do this. Welcome back to episode 5, the top behaviours of action takers and how to make them work for you. It's not about changing who you are. It's not about changing what you stand for. It's about finding the perspective that means you can also achieve. It's looking at it from a lens that works for you in your world so that you can take action and achieve. Today is about taking that action whilst understanding yourself, your alignment, your tendencies, who you are as a person, and using all those strengths and that perspective to make sure that you can take action no matter what the circumstance. You don't have to let go of your values to take action. If you use them in the right way, they will become your biggest strength, motivator, reason you keep going, and you definitely take action and you keep going through those highs and those lows. And because of that, you achieve your goals. Be completely aligned with yourself so that your conflict reduces, so that any barriers that come in your way can actually just be bulldozed out of the way so that you can still succeed. It's not about becoming somebody else completely. It's about noticing which values are important for you and how you can use those to be happy, healthy, and succeeding. Using your values and using them to choose that story that you're going to go through. In this episode, we'll look at the values that appear to be holding you back and actually leveraging them and using them to drive powerful action. We often think action takers are wired differently. They're decisive, fearless, quick to move. When actually it's not about personality, it's about the strategy. It's about your mindset and perspective of how you take things on, to whether you're going to take action and keep taking action to achieve your goals. You'll walk away with a new perspective on taking bold steps without abandoning what makes you, you. Let's get into it. Whether you overthink, hesitate, seek certainty, we'll look at how actually these can be a strength and ensure you have action and align with that in the decisions that we make so that you're successful. The first top behavior of action takers, they make quick but thoughtful decisions. This immediately aligns with values such as decisiveness, courage, adventure. They trust themselves with the choices that they make without overanalyzing. The opposite of adventure is security. Now, you need to decide which value is more important to you, adventure or security. If you want the behavior of making quick but thoughtful decisions and you have adventure, then you can align with that. Look at how you make decisions and link in with the value of adventure. But if you prefer or you have a much higher value on security, then you need to think, how can I make quick but thoughtful decisions to ensure that I'm aligned with feeling secure and giving security as a value? This could mean adding into the process certain checks and balances that I must do before making a decision. A process that I could follow to make sure that I'm not leaving myself at huge risk. knowing that the process that I'm taking to feel secure and honor that value within me, it is supported. And when it's supported, it means that the conflict reduces and we can move forward and continue to take action. If you suddenly stop, you may find that your value of security has come into conflict, has been challenged in some way. So consider, how can you make that security work for you? The next behavior of action takers is they focus on solutions, not problems. Here, they are being resourceful and positive. Those values are important to them. And because of that, they find lots of solutions and move forward and take action. If, however, a stronger value for you is realism, then that's going to slow you down. That's going to stop you from taking action. Remember, the strength of realism is that you are grounded. You're not going to rush into too many mistakes. We can fail fast and learn fast, but there's also something to be said for you can still learn fast without jumping at every solution that comes into your head and wasting time. So just notice if realism is an important value to you, how do you use it in taking action? Action takers take responsibility for the outcomes. There's the accountability and integrity, are two values there that probably come up highly for those people. Now, if you're thinking about an opposite to that, maybe your value is spirituality, where the fate of what happens is out of your hands. Your external locus of control is with someone else, something else, a different power that may be. You can align with it when things are going well, and it can power you to look for more and other opportunities that really take you in the next step, and the next step. Just be aware of that. That can give you so much momentum and motivation to go forward. Another behavior is they're comfortable with discomfort, and a value that aligns with that is resilience. They will look for people that are resilient to support them, to be around them. They are resilient. They embrace the challenges, what might be, and ride that roller coaster of the highs and lows, and know that that discomfort is okay because it leads to growth. Now, the opposite of the resilience might be comfort or stability. You may really value that stability, and so you don't even want to get on that roller coaster. And that's okay. Notice that your value of stability is more important to you than the resilience. And if you have that stability, how can you use that value to make sure that you still have and take action? This is about having parts of your action plan, your daily routine that are comfortable, that are what you know, that are what has always worked for you in the past, and that will keep you feeling stable. It will give you that strength and that comfort so that when things are changing around you or the roller coaster comes, you've still got that stability to fall back on and feel that calm and comfort within it. How do you put this bubble of stability around you so that you will still get on that roller coaster, so that you take action? Another top behavior is they set clear goals. This is for clarity and purpose, so they know where they're going and the aim that they have. An opposing value to that is wanting to be spontaneous or creative and do it in different ways, go in different directions. You might really value the spontaneity of not having to sit down and write that action plan. And here it is about finding those places where you can be spontaneous, where you can be creative. It's as if you plan in where you're going to be spontaneous. You could also consider it from another viewpoint that spontaneity is such a high value of yours, you are just going to go with it. It's not going to stop you from taking action. You're not going to listen to the people that say you're just winging it. No, because you've thought about it and gone through the process of thinking, what are my top values that I need to align? Because that is what's going to motivate me to keep going. So if spontaneity is a really high value for you, one of your core values, then do it, use it. Create a new way to prove that action takers can also be spontaneous at the core. Prioritizing execution over perfection is another top behavior of action takers. It's about that value of adaptability or flexibility. It's about knowing that doing something is far better and more successful than waiting for it to be perfect. 'Cause how do we even know what is perfect? However, if you have an opposing core value, such as excellence, that can make it really challenging. Just putting something out there before it is perfect. But consider, how can I have this behavior of execution over perfectionism whilst my core value is excellence? And for this example, I'd suggest reframing what is excellence in this situation. So to be an excellent action taker and show excellence, you must execute. Perfection isn't excellence when it comes to action taking. And when you consider it in a different way, you can still align with your value and do a behavior that means you'll be successful. This also aligns with the next behavior of action takers, and that is they manage their energy, not just their time. So it's about that value of discipline, which I've spoken about before on my actions. And where I have to reframe here is I may not have the discipline because I value effort and hustle and endurance and also pushing for that excellence and perfectionism. So I need to consider I may not have the discipline for managing my energy as well as my time as a value on its own to motivate me to do that. So I need to think about, how can I make endurance or the excellence or that hustle be a priority because it's a core value so that I can still manage energy and time. Knowing that endurance is a core value of ours, we think about, how can we make endurance around managing our energy? If I manage my energy, I will be able to endure for far longer than the short term. It means that this goal will keep going through the long term and as far as I can see. There we're really keying into our value of endurance and ensuring that we use that to be successful. If I asked myself to just be disciplined about my time and energy, it wouldn't work for me. Action takers surround themselves with other action takers. It's about that community and inspiration. Surrounding themselves with different people, whether they were their tight circle of friends or not, means that they get that hit, they get that infectious taking action, doing, achieving, failing, learning. They surround themselves with people that also feel and thrive off those feelings. But another value that might not work with opening up your community or inspiration as your core value. Might be that you value loyalty or independence. You want to be doing it in your own way. You are loyal to your close circle of friends and you don't want to reach out to lots of different people. Neither one is wrong. What is wrong is not noticing that that is what you need and that is what you value. So if you value loyalty and independence, do that, align with that, and find your path forward with that. It might take longer, it might be quicker. Who knows? But it's about noticing your value and how it enables you to achieve the behavior. Action takers reflect and adjust regularly. They value the self-awareness, the learning, the growth. They use it to not keep making the same mistakes. When they do this, it's also aligned with that locus of control, taking the responsibility that their outcomes are their outcomes and they're going to adjust to those to be successful. The opposite of that could be when you're trying to provide the stability, the consistency. It might even show up as stubbornness. I don't know if anyone values stubbornness, but what I can say is that's very similar to consistency and stability. So you like to do things in the way that you've always done them. And that might work. That might work for you. And if it does, that's great. Notice that your value is aligned and you can still achieve and take action. But if it's stopping you from taking action, you need to consider, how can I make consistency and stability work for me to take action, to reflect and adjust? It's that adjusting that's going to be difficult. So you need to look where in the process is the consistency working and align with that and do more of that. Another option is to think about other situations where you are already doing a certain process, skill, behavior, and it works in that situation and you haven't tried it in your different or new situation. Try and lift that consistency and stability to adjust on any mistakes or failings that are happening instead of just digging your heels in and keep doing the same because you're going to get the same results. You can align with your consistent value by looking at where you've been consistent in other projects and put that into this action. All of the behaviors so far could probably be underpinned by this final behavior of action takers, and that's committing to lifelong learning and growth. You're taking action. You want growth. You want change. You want something different, whatever that action is that you're taking. So you need to consider the value of being curious. Do you highly value curiosity? Asking questions, noticing what's around you. Are there things that you need to start, stop, continue? What questions can you ask to move you forward? What's needed in that moment? Seek the new knowledge and skills that you need to be able to achieve and have that growth. Now, when we consider the opposite value, what we're talking about, instead of that curiosity, we're talking about tradition or certainty. Keep doing what you've always done. Very much like in the film Crudes. Nope, we can't go out of the cave. We can't be curious. It kills. We can't be open-minded. It kills. We must stay with our traditions the way that we've always done every single day, and we know that it is certain. But unfortunately, the world doesn't work like that. So it's considering Yes, if you've got the value of curiosity and that goes in pride of place above anything else, then you're going to have this growth mindset and behavior of action takers. If, however, you value tradition and certainty above curiosity, consider where the tradition and the certainty are when you want to have that growth. That growth will come from established knowledge and proven methods. So use those to take action. This doesn't align with innovation, new and creativity directly, but they can also consider that there's no such thing as an original thought. It's just taking the different thoughts and experiences that we've had and putting them together to create something that appears to be new, but actually there are those different traditions and certainties from other places that we brought together to create this innovation, to create this growth. Today, we've just touched the surface on values, maybe 20 or 30 of them. Maybe that has provoked and stimulated some thought for you to consider which ones are important to me. Go out, notice, observe what goes on inside and what's going on around you that feels good and positive and aligned. And think about those things that feel difficult or a struggle or harder than they should, or you just don't want to take part. That will give you the information you need of what your values are and how you can put some more focus on those to take action next time. Taking action is not about changing who you are at your core. It is about using who you are at your core to take action, to come from a perspective, a mindset, the knowledge that you feel comfortable to achieve, to feel that stability of certainty of what you know and aligning with that and using that to have the behaviors of top action takers and make sure that you take action and live life. If you have any questions, please drop the comment, send me a message, connect with me, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, the YouTube channel, on the podcast channels. Any way that you like, I would love to hear from you and have a conversation. I'm passionate about this and I want to share it with others. If you think this episode can help someone, share it. If you think this episode will really support what somebody else is doing, share it. Thank you so much for your time today. And just a reminder, this is me and my experience from being a teacher in the military, working for a top university, and now globally on leadership programs and executive coaching. It's my experience and my experience of life. I am not a trained therapist. If you think you need professional advice, please seek a professional. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you soon.